my channel. I'm Rachel, the owner and creator here at the Eclectic Cottage in Spokane, Washington. Today is Tuesday and I have some thrift flips for you guys. I had every intention of having 3 projects for you today, but my week kind of got away from me a little bit. I spent all day here yesterday cleaning and organizing my stash and moving things around, and I had really hoped to be able to finish up my 3rd project, and it just didn't get done, you guys. So I got 2 though, and they both turned out really cute. I hope you love them as much as I do, and without further ado, let's get to today's projects. So my first project is this ceramic pumpkin that I've had on my shelf for a while. Somebody had painted this at some point with a chalk style paint in blue, and then they had done the stem in like a metallic silver color. Not my cup of tea. And so I had developed a plan in my head, and I was going to do a little bit of an experiment with this guy, and I am going to be decoupaging it with some napkins that I bought last fall. First, I wanted to put a nice neutral backdrop behind my napkins, so I'm painting this entire pumpkin with 2 good coats of DIY's paint in the color Crinoline, which is this beautiful creamy off-white. Once that was done, I did go ahead and seal the bottom only with Big Top, just because I knew I was going to be having to scooch this pumpkin around quite a bit, and I didn't want to damage my paint. Then it was on to my napkins. Now, these are a typical 3-ply napkin, so I peeled back 2 of the plies and left myself with just that thin outer decorator portion of it. And again, this is just kind of an experiment. So I started by putting a little bit of DIY's liquid patina down, and then I took a strip of the napkin and placed it over the top, and then slowly began using another coat of liquid patina and my brush to smooth out the napkin over the pumpkin. Now, of course, I started with a straight line, but since I was going over a curved surface, it ended up being a little bit curved. And so I did get a few little wrinkles, and that was fine. I kind of figured with this being a napkin and this being a curved surface, I would more than likely have wrinkles. So that's fine. This definitely ended up being a little bit of a tedious process. And one thing I did realize is that I needed to let my paper dry in between strips, because every time I would touch it, I would make a little rip in the paper. So here's me doing a little patch job in an area that I had accidentally torn. So I just cut out a little piece that matched up the pattern pretty well and replaced it. And just again, working my way in little sections, trying to match up the pattern as best I could so that it didn't look too terribly wonky, and then cutting off little sections if I had too much of an overlap, and working my way just section by section around the entire pumpkin. Like I said, it was a little bit time consuming, but I really, really love the result of this, and it's something I would probably do again in the future. Once my paper had dried completely, I went around the stem and very, very carefully with a razor blade cut all the excess paper off. And then I did end up having a few areas that had lifted just a little bit, so I did take some more liquid patina and just kind of dab those down. And I had one area that was missing, so I put a little bit of piece of paper on that as well. And then I did the same thing to the bottom of the pumpkin, just going around the edge and very carefully cutting away the excess napkin. Once that was done, it was time to work on the stem. I decided to paint it Layered Chocolate by DIY, and so I'm simply beginning the process by giving it 2 good coats of layered chocolate paint. Once the stem was dry, it was time to seal it, and I grabbed my clear wax by DIY and gave it 1 good even coat of the wax, and then used a shop towel to wipe back the excess. Before I did that though, I decided to go ahead and give a coat of wax to the entire body of this pumpkin. I know it was already sealed with the liquid patina, but I had a plan in mind and I thought this would be a good starting point. So I went ahead and gave the entire thing a coat of clear wax and then used a dry shop towel to wipe back any excess. Once that was done, I went ahead and went over the stem with just a little bit of DIY's white wax, basically to bring out any of the detail in it. It was kind of plain and just needed a little something. So using a feather light touch, I just wiped off the excess white wax. Then I decided I wanted to add a little bit more definition to the body of the pumpkin. So I grabbed my DIY dark wax and with a small brush, I just brushed a little bit of the dark wax along each of the little indentations on the pumpkin. And then I just used the brush to kind of swirl a little bit of shadow along the crevices. I didn't go over the entire piece. I didn't want it to have a dirty, dingy look. I just wanted to add a little bit of depth and dimension to the body of this pumpkin. I also did a little bit of shading around the bottom of the piece and around the stem at the top. Then I grabbed my clear wax brush again and I just went over the very fronts of each of the sections of pumpkin to take off any dark wax that I might have gotten on there and just make sure the paper was nice and bright. I love how this pumpkin turned out. I hope you guys do too. Project 2 is this little park bench box that I picked up not too long ago. I really loved the look of this thing, but it was very dirty and a little bit faded and really needed a refresh. So I started by giving this a sand with some 150 grit sandpaper, mainly because I had noticed there were a couple areas that the paint looked like it was starting to peel and come off. And I just wanted this to have a really good, clean base ready for some new paint. Now, in all honesty, I loved the color that it was originally, so I am not going to be changing that. I am going to go right back over this black paint with Little Black Dress by DIY. Again, this is more about just freshening this thing up and making it look a little bit newer and giving it new life. I only had to put one coat of Little Black Dress on this because painting it was a very time-consuming process. All those little rungs definitely took a minute to get covered, but it looked so much better and cleaner when I was finished. I was really happy that I'd painted it. Once I finished painting and it was dry, I did go ahead and do some distressing. I really did like the original look of this piece and I wanted to kind of replicate that. So I'm going over it with some 150 grit sandpaper and just roughing up the edges and bringing a little bit of that wood through the paint. I did try to do wet distressing first, but the color of the wood was so dark that really you couldn't hardly see what I was doing, and I just found that the sanding worked a little bit better. Once I had finished sanding, I did go ahead and rinse this off in my sink rather than wipe it down with a shop towel. I tried wiping it down, but it really seemed like it was taking too much of the paint off, and I didn't like that. So I find sometimes it's easiest just to rinse a piece off in my sink and let it air dry. Once that was done, I needed to seal it. And since this was such a detailed little piece, I decided to go ahead and seal it with some Rustoleum matte spray rather than try to paint Big Top on or use wax. So I am just going over this entire piece, the top and the bottom, with one good coat of the Rustoleum 2X spray in matte. Now I know it seems like a lot of work to get this bench back to basically where I started from, just newer and fresher, but I absolutely love the look of this little thing. But I decided to go ahead and add a little something to it. So I grabbed a transfer set by Redesign with Prima. It's called Classic Peach. I've had it for quite some time. It's got beautiful fall colors in it, and I decided it would be perfect for the front of the box. So I measured how much I needed of the one piece of this and then cut out the strip that I needed to put on the front, tore off the backing, and then laid my transfer down. Transfers are such a great way to elevate a piece of decor, and they're super simple to apply. You just place it where you want it, and then you take the little transfer stick and rub the transfer down while you peel the backing, that little piece of vellum, up. And you just have to go slowly and be patient. And if you accidentally pull a little piece of the transfer up with the vellum, you just lay it back down and re-rub that spot until the entire transfer is adhered. Now, I do recommend taking a piece of the plastic once you've got your transfer completely down and rubbing that over the transfer really well to remove any air bubbles and make sure it's well seated onto your piece. That's called burnishing. Once I was done with the transfer, it was just time to replace my hardware, and then this little bench is done. I know it doesn't look a lot different than it did when I bought it, but boy, I really love how it came out. Well, I think that's it from here for today, you guys. I hope you liked my projects and I hope you enjoyed the video. What did you guys think of the decoupage napkins on the pumpkin? Was it too busy or did you really like it? For me, I thought it was just beautiful. So I will definitely be doing that kind of technique again in the future. I actually have another ugly pumpkin in my stash that needs a redo, and so I'm kind of thinking that might be the way to go. We'll see. Anyway, I hope you did enjoy the video. If you did, please remember to give it a thumbs up. I so appreciate that. And if you haven't already, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. then just hit the little notification bell so you don't miss anything. And then don't forget to drop a comment below and let me know, what did you guys think of the pumpkin? Did you have a favorite project today? I always like to hear from you guys. Just a reminder too, any of the paint products you saw me use today can be purchased through me at my website, and that's www.theeclecticcottagespokane.com. It's listed below in my description box. I carry the full line of DIY paint products, as well as Sweet Pickins milk paint, Recycled Treasures decoupage paper, plus some Redesign with Prima. So go check those out there. And let's see, for Friday's video, I will definitely have another batch of thrift flips for you guys. Like I said, I already have one on the way, so that will definitely be in next week's or on Friday's video. So I hope you'll join me then. Until then, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week, and I will see you on Friday. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.